Aaron was a simple man in a complicated universe, a salvage technician by trade. He spent most of his days scavenging broken ships and forgotten machinery on distant moons. Life was quiet, predictable, and, if he was honest, a little lonely. But out here, in the far reaches of the galaxy, there wasn't much room for adventure, or so he thought. On a cold, barren moon orbiting a dying star, his scanners beeped unexpectedly. Aaron leaned forward in his cockpit, wiping condensation from the small viewing screen. The signal was faint, but it was clear. Something had crash-landed nearby. Curiosity sparked. Aaron piloted his worn-down ship, the Nova Hand, toward the source of the signal. The moon's surface was littered with craters, its gray dust shimmering faintly under the weak starlight. After navigating past jagged rock formations, he saw it, a sleek alien craft buried halfway in the ground. The ship was unlike anything Aaron had ever seen. Its hull gleamed with an unearthly, metallic sheen that shifted colors as he moved closer. Strange symbols were etched along its sides, glowing faintly. It looked advanced, far beyond the patchwork vessels he usually encountered. Aaron's heart raced. Alien technology could fetch a fortune on the black market, but it was also dangerous. He hesitated, staring at the wreck. One look, he muttered to himself. Just one look. He grabbed his toolkit and stepped onto the moon's surface. The air was thin but breathable, his helmet's sensors confirmed. As he approached the ship, he noticed scorch marks and deep gashes along the hull, signs of an attack. Something or someone had shot this craft down. The entrance hatch was twisted open, allowing him to slip inside. The interior was just as impressive as the exterior. The walls pulsed with faint light, and the air hummed with residual energy. Aaron's boots echoed softly as he moved through the corridors, his flashlight cutting through the dimness. That's when he saw her. At first, he thought it was another machine. A sleek, humanoid figure slumped against the wall. Her body was crafted from a blend of metal and synthetic materials, her limbs smooth and elegant. Her face, though distinctly robotic, had a strange beauty to it, with softly glowing lines that traced her features. Aaron crouched beside her, his flashlight sweeping over her form. She was damaged, badly. Her chest panel was scorched, exposing complex circuits, and one of her arms was twisted at an unnatural angle. Yet faint lights flickered in her eyes, a sign of life. An android, Aaron whispered, awestruck, but not like any I've ever seen. Her eyes blinked weakly, and a soft, melodic voice emerged. Help me. The words were barely audible, but they sent a chill down Aaron's spine. She wasn't just a machine. She was aware. Without hesitation, he set to work. Aaron had repaired countless machines in his lifetime, but this was something entirely different. Her systems were intricate, far beyond his understanding, yet somehow familiar. He connected diagnostic tools, patching wires and sealing leaks as best he could. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to stabilize her. As he worked, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching him. He glanced over his shoulder, but the ship remained silent. The eerie glow of the symbols on the walls seemed to pulse in time with his own heartbeat. Finally, after hours of work, the android stirred. Her eyes, twin orbs of soft light, focused on him. You repaired me, she said, her voice stronger now. Aaron sat back, wiping sweat from his brow. Yeah. You're lucky I found you. What happened here? Her head tilted slightly, as if searching for the answer. Ambush. My ship. Attacked. Mission. Incomplete. Mission? Aaron asked, but before she could reply, a low rumble echoed through the ship. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter, and a deep vibration shook the floor. We're not alone, the android said, her voice steady despite the warning. Aaron's pulse quickened. He wasn't ready for a fight, but it seemed trouble had found him anyway. Grabbing his toolkit, he looked at the android. Can you walk? She nodded, her movements fluid despite her injuries. "With your repairs, I am operational." "Good," Aaron said, "because I think we need to get out of here. Fast." As they moved through the ship, Aaron couldn't help but wonder what he had just gotten himself into. He had set out that morning expecting to find scrap metal and forgotten treasures, but instead he had stumbled upon something far more valuable and far more dangerous. And as the android followed him, her glowing eyes fixed on his back, Aaron had the distinct feeling that his life was about to change forever. Aaron and the android, who had yet to reveal her true name, moved quickly through the ship's dark corridors. The hum of the engines had stopped, replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to stretch endlessly around them. The only sound was the soft clank of Aaron's boots on the metal floor and the faint whir of the android's servos as she walked beside him. "What happened to your crew?" Aaron asked, his eyes scanning the ship's abandoned interior. It felt like a ghost ship, empty, but alive with the feeling that something was watching them. The android's voice, though soft, had a mechanical precision to it. "I was sent alone. My mission, diplomatic." She paused, as if trying to recall more, but her eyes flickered briefly, a sign of internal damage. "I am Ela 7, envoy of the Altari Collective." Ela 7, huh? That's a name, Aaron muttered under his breath, glancing at her. She was tall and slender, her movements graceful despite her damaged state. He couldn't help but notice how human she looked. There was something almost natural about her, despite the fact that she was made of metal and circuits. "I am a representative," Ela 7 continued, her voice becoming steadier. "I was to meet with leaders of the Pentar system to discuss peace." Aaron nodded, taking in the details. He had heard of the Altari Collective, a group of advanced civilizations scattered across the galaxy. They were known for their technological prowess and their attempts at interspecies peace. But what he didn't understand was why Ela 7 was on this mission alone. "You were the only one sent?" Aaron asked. "Seems risky." "Unusual circumstances." Ela 7's face flickered slightly, as though she were processing something. "I volunteered." "Volunteered," Aaron repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Why would anyone volunteer for a mission like that?" Ela 7 paused again, her gaze distant, as if her mind was racing through memories. Finally, she spoke. "I was chosen because of my ability to adapt, to learn from others. It is my purpose, to bridge gaps, to learn the cultures of others, and offer my knowledge in exchange." Aaron was silent for a moment, letting her words settle. He could see how a mission like that could be vital for peace, but something about it didn't sit right. Why had she been attacked? Why was she alone now? Before he could ask another question, the ship suddenly shuddered. A low rumbling sound vibrated through the walls, and the lights above flickered erratically. Ela 7 tensed beside him, her eyes scanning the surroundings. "It's them," she said, her voice low. "Who?" Aaron asked, his heart racing as he turned to face her. "They are coming," Ela 7 replied, her eyes narrowing. "I cannot let anyone know the truth." Aaron felt a chill run down his spine. What truth? Who are they? Ela 7 took a step closer to him, her metallic body gleaming in the dim light. "The ones who attacked me. They do not wish for peace. They want to destroy me. And if they destroy me, my knowledge will be lost. My mission will fail." Aaron took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the situation pressing on him. "So we've got a problem," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "But we're not out of options yet, right?" Ela 7 gave him a small, almost imperceptible nod. "I can defend myself," she said, "but not without assistance." Aaron glanced around the ship, looking for any advantage. The walls were smooth, the corridors narrow. There weren't many places to hide or escape. "We need to get to the control room," he said. "I'll see if I can get the engines back online. Maybe we can outrun them." Ela 7 seemed to consider this for a moment before nodding. That is a viable option. However, I must warn you, if they find us, there will be no escape. Aaron's mind raced. He didn't know who they were, but the fact that Ela 7 was so certain they would find them was enough to make him uneasy. Then let's move, he said. Together, they ran through the ship's winding hallways, the soft hum of Ela 7's movements matching the steady beat of Aaron's pulse. The tension in the air was palpable, every sound amplified in the narrow, empty corridors. Aaron's heart pounded as he tried to focus, but his mind kept returning to one question. Why was Ela 7 so important? What was the knowledge she carried? They reached the control room, a small but sleek compartment at the heart of the ship. The walls were lined with glowing panels, their light flickering weakly. Ela 7 moved to the central console, her fingers gliding over the controls. I will try to reestablish communications, she said, but I may not have much time. Aaron moved to the side, watching her work. As he looked around the room, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. His instincts were telling him they were running out of time. He didn't know what it was, perhaps the urgency in Ela 7's tone, or the deep hum he felt in his bones. But the ship was about to face something far worse than just a mechanical failure. Ela 7's voice broke the silence. I have sent a distress signal. We will be intercepted. Aaron turned to face her. What does that mean for us? She looked at him, her eyes filled with something unfamiliar. It means you must trust me. There is no turning back now. Aaron's breath caught in his throat. He hadn't expected the situation to escalate so quickly. The journey that had started as a simple salvage mission was now something far more dangerous, and he was in it whether he liked it or not. And with that realization, Aaron knew one thing for sure. His life would never be the same again. The control room was tense, the air thick with anticipation. Ela 7's fingers flew across the console, her movements precise and quick. The flashing lights from the ship's systems reflected off her metallic body, giving her an almost ethereal glow. Aaron, watching her work, felt a sense of urgency rise in him. Whatever was coming, they didn't have much time. Can you get us out of here? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Ela 7's head turned slightly towards him, her glowing eyes locking with his. It is not just about escape, she said, her voice calm but serious. It is about completing my mission. I was sent here for a reason, Aaron. You must understand. Aaron swallowed. He had thought they were just running from danger, but now he realized it was something far deeper. What do you mean? Ela 7 took a deep breath, the hum of the ship's systems filling the silence. I was sent to broker peace between two warring factions in the Pentar system. A delicate mission. But my memory core was damaged during the attack. I cannot remember everything. Aaron frowned. So, you're not just a robot. You're a diplomat. Yes, Ela 7 replied. I am a representative of the Altari Collective, a group of civilizations dedicated to maintaining peace. My creators built me to understand and connect with different cultures, to use my knowledge and experience to end conflicts. The weight of her words hung in the air. Aaron had known about the Altari Collective, an influential group that spanned many star systems, known for their technological advances and efforts to unite species. But he had never imagined he'd meet one of their envoys, let alone one who was so human in her actions. You're telling me your mission is to stop a war? Aaron asked, trying to wrap his mind around it. Yes, Ela 7 said, but it was never supposed to be this way. I was supposed to meet with the leaders of the Pentar system and negotiate, to offer a peaceful resolution, but the attack on my ship. She trailed off, her voice faltering for a moment. Aaron could sense that she was troubled, not just by the attack, but by something deeper. What happened after the attack? Ela 7's eyes dimmed briefly as she continued. The attackers were not from the Pentar system. They are a rogue faction, outside the collective's knowledge. Their motives are unclear, but they do not want peace. They want to destroy everything that stands in their way. My ship was a target. I was the only one left. Aaron thought for a moment, trying to process the information. So someone doesn't want peace. They want war instead. But why are they targeting you specifically? Ela 7 hesitated, her gaze distant. I do not know. Fully. But I believe it has to do with the knowledge I carry. The Altari Collective's technology is vast, and I am connected to much of it. My mission was not just diplomatic. I was to bring back crucial information that could end the war before it began. Aaron could see the pain in her eyes, the burden of the unknown. You mean, they don't want peace because of what you know? Yes, Ela 7 said softly. I fear that what I carry is more powerful than they can control. And if they succeed in destroying me, the knowledge will be lost forever. Aaron stood still, his thoughts racing. Ela 7 was more than just an android. She was a key to something much larger, a hidden piece of the galaxy's future, one that these rogue attackers would stop at nothing to keep from getting out. Suddenly, the room shook with a violent jolt. The warning alarms blared to life, red lights flashing in the control room. Ela 7 looked up sharply, her eyes flashing with concern. They have found us, she said, her voice calm but urgent. Aaron's heart skipped a beat. He rushed to her side, trying to stay calm. How many are there? Ela 7's hands moved quickly across the console, bringing up a series of flashing images. It is not a large fleet, but they are well armed. They will stop at nothing to ensure I do not reach my destination. Where do we go? Aaron asked. Ela 7's gaze shifted from the screen to him, her expression almost unreadable. There is a station near the edge of the Pentar system, a safe zone. If we can get there, I can contact the collective. But we must move quickly. Once we are close, they will launch an attack. Aaron nodded, his mind already working on a plan. He didn't know much about interstellar warfare, but he knew how to survive. And he knew they couldn't stay on this ship any longer. The enemies were closing in, and the stakes were higher than ever. He grabbed a tool belt from the nearby wall and started checking the systems. The ship was still functional, but only just. They needed to get the engines back online. I'll handle the engine systems. You keep those attackers at bay. Ela 7 looked at him, a flicker of something like trust in her glowing eyes. I will protect you. I'm counting on it, Aaron said, his voice steady despite the rising tension. Together, they worked in sync, each one focused on their task. The tension in the air was palpable, the ship vibrating with the threat of what was to come. Every movement felt like it could be the last, but Aaron was determined to see this through. They had no choice. As the engines powered up and the ship slowly began to move, Aaron stole a glance at Ela 7. She was more than just an ally now. She had become something else, a symbol of hope in a galaxy torn apart by war. And no matter the cost, Aaron was ready to fight beside her. With a final glance at the control room, Aaron nodded. Let's get this done. The ship lurched forward as Aaron and Ela 7 worked side by side. The hum of the engines was steady now, but the ship's sensors still showed a flickering of unstable power. It wasn't enough. Not yet. They had to make it to the Pentar system before their pursuers closed in. Aaron ran his fingers over the control panel, adjusting systems that weren't designed for fast fixes. It was a patchwork job, but it would have to do. He glanced at Ela 7, who was standing watch by the viewport, her eyes scanning the horizon. She was alert, focused, and somehow calm. Any sign of them? Aaron asked, his voice low but urgent. Ela 7 didn't take her eyes off the display. They are following us. But we have a brief head start. The rogue faction. They know how to track ships, even through stealth, but they are not fast enough to catch us yet. Aaron gritted his teeth. The fact that their enemies had already found them was troubling, but Ela 7's calmness kept him grounded. They were in danger, but there was still hope if they kept moving. He quickly set the ship on a course toward the Pentar system's edge, where a neutral space station awaited. It was their best chance for escape, but it was far from a guarantee. The space between them and safety was vast, and the enemies behind them wouldn't give up easily. As the ship's engines powered up, a sudden voice crackled over the comm system. "This is Captain Vorn of the Rogue Fleet. You cannot run from us. We know what you carry, Ela 7. You cannot escape your fate." Aaron's heart sank as the cold, harsh voice filled the cabin. He knew they were dealing with more than just mercenaries now. These people were on a mission, and they would stop at nothing to succeed. Ela 7's expression darkened. "He is the leader of the faction pursuing us. Vorn is ruthless, and he will not hesitate to destroy us." "How long do we have?" Aaron asked, his eyes darting back to the controls. "Not long," Ela 7 said, her voice steady but with an edge of urgency. "He is ordering a full fleet pursuit. They will launch their attack soon." The pressure of the situation was starting to wear on Aaron, but he couldn't afford to panic. He had to keep focused. If he let fear take over, they wouldn't make it out alive. "All right," he muttered to himself, slamming his fist against the dashboard. "We just need a little more time. Just a little." Ela 7 glanced at him, her gaze unwavering. "I am confident in your abilities, Aaron, but we must prepare for the worst." The ship rocked again, this time harder, as if something massive had collided with them. The lights flickered, and the steady hum of the engine sputtered. "They're firing on us," Aaron shouted, rushing to the controls. He quickly engaged evasive maneuvers, steering the ship sharply to the left. Ela 7 grabbed the railing beside her to steady herself. "They have locked onto us. We need to disable their weapons before they hit us again." "Do you have any ideas on how to do that?" Aaron asked, his hands flying over the controls, trying to outmaneuver the attacking ships. Ela 7 looked at him, her expression almost serene. "I can access their systems. I may be able to disrupt their targeting." "Then do it," Aaron said, his voice strained. He glanced out the viewport and saw the flashing lights of several ships closing in on them. Their enemies were relentless. Ela 7 moved quickly to the central console, her fingers dancing over the touchscreen. "I am engaging their communication systems. This will take a few moments." Aaron's pulse raced as he fought to maintain control of the ship. Another jolt sent him flying against the seatbelt, and he winced in pain but didn't have time to recover. He needed to focus. "How much longer?" Aaron asked, gritting his teeth. "I am almost there," Ela 7 replied, her voice calm but with a hint of urgency. "One more moment." Another blast rocked the ship, sending sparks flying from a control panel. The lights dimmed again, and the alarm system blared loudly. Aaron cursed under his breath. "They're not stopping," he muttered, glancing at Ela 7. "You're sure you can do this?" "I can," Ela 7 replied firmly. "I will protect you." Finally, Ela 7's fingers stopped moving across the console. "Done," she said with a calm finality. "Their targeting system is temporarily disabled. They will need to reboot before they can fire again." "Perfect," Aaron said, feeling the surge of relief. "Let's get out of here." With the Rogue fleet temporarily slowed down, Aaron pushed the throttle forward, sending the ship into overdrive. The engines roared to life, and they shot forward, racing toward the Pentar system. But even with the threat momentarily held off, Aaron knew it wasn't over. They were still far from safety. Ela 7 stood beside him, her eyes locked on the display. "We cannot afford to let our guard down. It will recover quickly." "I know," Aaron replied. He was exhausted, but there was no time for rest. He couldn't afford to make any mistakes. The only thing that mattered now was reaching the neutral station in time. As the ship hurtled through the stars, Aaron and Ela 7 were more connected than ever. Their fates were tied together, and the only way they could survive was by relying on each other. Ela 7 glanced at him again, her glowing eyes softening. "You have done well, Aaron." Aaron nodded, his hand steady on the controls. "We're not out of the woods yet, but we will be." And as the stars blurred past them, the unknown stretched out before them, full of danger, but also the chance for something greater. The stars outside the viewport blurred into streaks of light as Aaron pushed the ship harder. The rogue fleet was still behind them, but for now, their weapons were disabled. Each passing second felt like a victory. But Aaron knew they were far from safe. The Pentar system was still a long way off. Ela 7 stood at his side, her gaze fixed on the navigation screen. She was calm, almost eerily so, but Aaron could tell she was thinking about something more than just their immediate escape. There was a heavy silence between them, as if she was carrying a weight too large to share. Aaron stole a glance at her. "You all right?" She turned her glowing eyes toward him, her expression unreadable. "I am functioning as intended," she replied. But there was something in her voice that hinted at more, something hidden beneath the calm facade. He didn't press her further. He had his own worries. The ship's damaged systems could fail at any moment, and they had no idea what awaited them at the Pentar system. "How long until we reach the station?" Aaron asked, trying to shift the focus back to their immediate goal. Ela 7's fingers moved swiftly over the console. "At our current speed, we should arrive in 2 hours. But I recommend we prepare for a possible engagement with the fleet before then." Aaron nodded, his fingers tightening on the controls. He had no doubt that the rogue fleet would catch up, even with the temporary system shutdown. They had underestimated them once, but he wasn't about to make that mistake again. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. A low, rumbling sound filled the cabin. Aaron's heart raced as he quickly checked the status screen. "They found us," he muttered under his breath. Ela 7 stepped closer, her eyes narrowing as she studied the readout. "Their weapon systems are back online. We must take evasive action." Aaron slammed his hand against the console, sending the ship into a sharp roll to the left. A volley of blasts narrowly missed them, shaking the ship violently. Sparks flew from the dashboard, and the lights flickered. "They're closing in," Aaron said, his pulse quickening. "What now?" Ela 7 looked at him, her expression unchanged. "We must fight back. I will access their communications again and disrupt their coordination." "Do it," Aaron said, already working the ship's controls to avoid the incoming blasts. The ship's engines roared, responding to his commands, but Aaron could feel the strain in the systems. They were pushing the limits. Ela 7's fingers flew across the console. "It will take time. Keep them away from us as long as you can." The ship shook again as another blast hit them. This time, the force sent Aaron flying against his seatbelt, his vision blurring for a moment. He gritted his teeth, forcing himself to stay focused. "Come on, Ela 7, hurry up," he shouted, steering the ship sharply to the right to avoid another blast. "I am almost there," Ela 7 replied calmly, though her voice was laced with urgency. "One more moment." Aaron pushed the ship into another evasive maneuver, narrowly avoiding another volley. The rogue fleet was relentless, but Ela 7's calm presence kept him grounded. She knew what she was doing. He just had to trust her. Finally, Ela 7's voice came through, steady and clear. "I have disrupted their coordination. Their targeting is temporarily disabled again." Aaron exhaled in relief, but the danger wasn't over. He wasn't foolish enough to think they were safe yet. "Great, let's move." He pushed the ship forward, its engines roaring as they gained speed. The rogue fleet was still behind them, but with their systems disrupted, they couldn't keep up. Ela 7 glanced at him. "We are not yet free. They will regroup." "Not if we get there first," Aaron said, determination in his voice. They had a brief window of safety, and Aaron was determined to make the most of it. But even with the temporary advantage, a growing sense of unease settled over him. The rogue fleet wasn't the only threat they faced. "What is it?" Ela 7 asked, sensing his tension. "I'm just thinking," Aaron said, his voice trailing off. "We've been running for a while now, but I still don't understand what's really going on. Why are they so interested in you?" Ela 7's face softened for a moment, a flicker of something more human in her eyes. You are right to ask. I was not just sent as a diplomat. I was part of a larger plan. My mission was to bring back information, technology that could change the future of the galaxy. Aaron's eyes widened. Technology? What kind of technology? Ela 7 paused, as if weighing her words. I carry knowledge that could reshape the balance of power. The rogue faction believes that if they control this technology, they will rule the galaxy. They do not want peace. They want domination. Aaron's mind raced as the implications of her words sank in. The stakes had just grown much higher. If Ela 7's mission succeeded, it could bring peace. But if the rogue faction got their hands on her knowledge, it could mean war. He looked at her, his eyes meeting hers with newfound understanding. So, you're not just fighting for survival. You're fighting for the future of the galaxy. Ela 7 gave a slight nod, her expression unreadable. Yes, but the future is not as certain as you may think. The silence between them was heavy, filled with the weight of everything they had yet to face. The Pentar system was still far away, and the rogue fleet wasn't giving up. Aaron knew they were entering dangerous territory. But there was one thing he knew for sure. They had to make it to the station. The fate of everything depended on it. The stars outside the viewport were streaks of light now, distant and cold. The rogue fleet was still behind them, but for the first time in a long while, Aaron felt a glimmer of hope. The ship was holding together, and Ela 7's quick thinking had bought them more time. But they weren't safe yet. How far are we from the station? Aaron asked, keeping his eyes on the navigation panel. The ship's systems were starting to stabilize, but the damage was still there, too much for comfort. Ela 7's gaze was fixed on the screen as well, her expression unreadable. We are less than 20 minutes away. However, the rogue fleet will catch up to us soon. Their weapons are fully operational, and they are preparing for another attack. Aaron's grip on the controls tightened. They were close, so close. But as the seconds ticked by, the pressure mounted. One wrong move, and they would never make it. He stole a glance at Ela 7. Her expression was calm, but there was something about the way she held herself that made him wonder just how much she knew, how much she had seen. Ela 7, he began, his voice low. What happens if we don't make it? If they catch us before we get to the station? Ela 7 turned to him, her glowing eyes meeting his with a sense of calm determination. If they catch us, they will not hesitate to destroy us. But we will not fail. Not while I am still functioning. Aaron nodded, but the fear that had been simmering in the back of his mind refused to go away. It was hard not to think about what was at stake. The rogue faction wasn't just a group of mercenaries. They were determined to control something far more powerful than just a few ships or weapons. Do you think they'll destroy the station? Aaron asked. Ela 7 didn't answer immediately, her eyes fixed on the horizon. They may try. But the station is neutral ground. It is protected by an ancient defense system that they may not be able to bypass. Aaron felt a sense of relief, but it was fleeting. He had to keep his focus. There was no time for second-guessing. A loud bang echoed through the ship, and the cabin rattled. Another blast hit them. The lights flickered, and the ship shook violently. They found us, Ela 7 said, her voice calm but with a clear note of urgency. Aaron's heart pounded as he pushed the ship into a sharp dive, narrowly avoiding another volley of laser fire. The rogue fleet was closing in, and the attack was relentless. Shields are holding, but not for long, Ela 7 said, her fingers moving across the console. I can try to send a distress signal to the station, but we need to buy more time. Do what you have to, Aaron replied, his voice tight. He was doing everything he could to keep the ship steady, but the pressure was starting to get to him. The ship wasn't designed for this kind of battle, and every jolt made him wonder if this was the one that would bring them down. Ela 7 worked quickly, sending signals to the station, while trying to disable the enemy fleet's targeting system once more. But it was a race against time. The rogue ships were closing in fast. Aaron knew they didn't have many options left. He could only keep dodging, but eventually their enemies would get a clear shot. The rogue fleet wasn't going to stop. "Ela 7, he called out, trying to keep his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We need to get to that station now. We can't let them catch us." "I am aware," Ela 7 said, her voice cool and precise. "I am doing everything I can to help us reach it, but you must continue to evade them." The next few minutes felt like hours. Every move Aaron made was calculated, sharp, and swift. He could feel the sweat on his brow as he steered the ship into another sharp turn, narrowly avoiding another blast. The rogue fleet wasn't giving up, but neither was he. Another blast rocked the ship, and this time, the lights went out completely. The only light in the cabin came from the glow of Ela 7's eyes. Aaron quickly checked the systems. They were still operational, but just barely. "They're coming closer," he muttered to himself, trying to force the fear out of his mind. He couldn't let himself break now, not when they were so close. He glanced at Ela 7. How much longer? She didn't look away from the console. 5 minutes. Just 5 more minutes. Aaron nodded, his grip on the controls steady. He couldn't afford to slip up now. Every second was a second closer to safety, but it was also one more second the rogue fleet had to catch up to them. The sound of enemy blasts rang out again, but this time they were further away. Aaron felt a slight sense of relief, but it was fleeting. He had no time for relief. "Ela 7, he said, a hint of urgency in his voice. "Can you boost the engines for just a little while longer?" Ela 7 looked at him, her expression as unreadable as ever. "I can, but it will put more strain on the systems. We don't have a choice," Aaron replied. He pushed the throttle forward, and the ship roared as the engines came to life once more. The ship surged forward, the rogue fleet trailing behind, but struggling to keep up. But the closer they got to the station, the clearer the danger became. Aaron could see the station in the distance now, a small, blinking light against the vast darkness of space. "Almost there," Ela 7 said, her voice steady. But then a bright flash filled the cabin, and Aaron's heart skipped a beat. The flash of light was blinding. For a moment, the world outside the ship seemed to vanish, leaving only a painful white glow. Aaron felt his hands freeze on the controls, the ship suddenly shaking violently as the impact rattled through the hull. The lights flickered, and the comm system sputtered to life, crackling with static. "Ela 7, Aaron shouted, trying to steady himself in the chaos. He pushed the throttle forward. But the ship was unstable, its systems malfunctioning with every passing second. "I am here," Ela 7's calm voice replied, but even she couldn't hide the urgency in her tone. "The hull has been damaged. The shields are failing." Aaron cursed under his breath. They were so close, but it felt as if the universe itself was pushing them back. He could see the Pentar station now, only a few minutes away. But the rogue fleet wasn't letting up. They were relentless. "We can't make it," Aaron muttered, though he didn't want to admit it. The rogue ships were closing in fast, their weapons already charging for another attack. The station was still too far, and they weren't going to make it in time. Ela 7's voice was soft, but there was a quiet strength in it. "We will not give up. We will fight." Aaron glanced at her, his heart racing. Ela 7's words weren't just for reassurance. She was ready to face whatever came next. She had always been calm in the face of danger, and Aaron was starting to understand why. She had seen more than anyone should ever have to see. "All right, then," Aaron said, his resolve hardening. "Let's give them everything we've got." He hit the comm button, broadcasting a distress signal to the station. If they couldn't reach it in time, at least someone would know what happened. The ship's engines sputtered and groaned, but he refused to slow down. "Station, "This is the ship Endeavor. We are under attack. We need immediate assistance." The comms crackled back, but the response was faint. "Endeavor, we read you. Hold on. We are preparing to launch defense protocols. Stay alive. Help is coming." Aaron didn't know if he believed it. Help. In space. It felt impossible, but he couldn't afford to doubt now. He had to keep fighting, for Ela 7, for himself, and for whatever slim chance they had left. "Ela 7, can you do anything to slow them down?" Aaron asked, his eyes darting between the rogue ships getting closer. Ela 7 moved quickly, her fingers flying over the console. "I will attempt to disrupt their targeting again. It should buy us a few more seconds." The ship shook again as another blast hit, but this time it wasn't as bad. The damage was mounting, but it wasn't fatal. Not yet. Ela 7's fingers stopped moving, and her gaze sharpened. "I have interrupted their communications. Their ships will lose coordination for a short time." Aaron nodded, but the relief was fleeting. They had no time to waste. He sent the ship into another evasive maneuver, twisting and turning through the blackness of space. The rogue fleet was still behind them, but now they were disorganized, scattered as they tried to regain control. "We're almost there," Aaron said, a surge of hope filling him. But then another wave of blasts hit. The ship rocked violently. Aaron fought to keep his grip on the controls, trying to steady the ship as it threatened to spin out of control. Lights flickered, and the systems began to fail one by one. His heart raced as the ship groaned, but he couldn't stop now. "Ela 7, he shouted, fear creeping into his voice for the first time. "I am here," she replied, moving quickly to assess the damage. "We are reaching critical levels. I can try to divert more power to the shields, but it will drain the engines completely." Aaron looked at her, his mind racing. "Do it. We need the shields." Ela 7's eyes met his for a brief moment, filled with something deep, something unspoken. "Understood." She moved with precision, rerouting the power. The ship hummed with a sudden surge, but the engines sputtered in protest. Aaron gritted his teeth, pushing the throttle forward with everything he had. The rogue ships were still coming, but now they were just a few hundred meters behind. The Penter station was in range. He could see the silhouette of the massive structure, its defenses beginning to power up. A spark of hope flickered within him. They were going to make it. Then, just as they neared the station, a massive explosion rocked the ship from behind. The impact sent the ship into a violent spin, and for a moment, Aaron thought they were done for. But Ela 7 was already working. She had already rerouted enough power to keep the ship steady. With a sharp turn of the controls, Aaron fought to regain control, pulling the ship back on course. He could see the station's defenses coming to life now, beams of energy shooting out toward the rogue fleet. It was a desperate move, but the station was responding. Help was here. "Ela 7. Aaron called again, barely able to hold on. "We need to land now." Ela 7's voice was steady. "I am guiding the ship in. Prepare for landing." With one final push, the ship shot toward the docking bay. It was a rough landing, but they made it. The ship came to a halt, the roar of the engines fading as the doors to the bay opened. Aaron exhaled deeply, his body shaking with the weight of everything that had just happened. They were safe, for now. As the ship's systems powered down, Ela 7 turned to him, her glowing eyes softening. "We have made it, Aaron." Aaron nodded, his chest heavy with relief and exhaustion. But even as the ship lay still, he knew the battle wasn't over. The rogue fleet might have been stopped, but the true war had only just begun. Ela 7 looked at him, a quiet understanding passing between them. They had faced the darkness together, and they would face whatever came next together as well.